Justine, thank you so much for joining us in the Media Center today.
My pleasure.
You already had your session this morning, is that right?
I did.
And it was titled Email Design, How to Optimize for All Environments in a Mobile World. Give us a little taste of what you talked about.
So, I talked about a lot. I don't typically cover that much content in a half-hour session, so I tried to cram as much as I could. So apologies to anyone that sort of got blown away by the speed there. But I talked about, I gave an overview of some stats, kind of how mobile has grown a lot in the last several years. It's been like a 400% increase since 2011, which is kind of crazy. So then I kind of walked through what I call the subscriber experience. And I liken the subscriber experience a lot different to the desktop experience because desktop readers don't have the same kind of environmental challenges they do as mobile people do because it's on a smaller screen. So I talked about how you need to optimize the inbox view on an iPhone or like an Android device, how you need to optimize for taps rather than clicks because people don't click on mobile devices, and then gave some examples and that kind of thing at the end. So covered a lot, like I said, in a half hour.
Okay, very nice. And maybe one thing that you see email marketers making a mistake with when it comes to their mobile approach. Is there one thing that you're seeing that you're like, this just isn't right, this needs to be fixed?
I would say that a couple of the things that I'm seeing are just content strategy in general. They're treating the mobile environment or the mobile inbox like the desktop one. So if they are doing some of the best practice things like making buttons bigger or fonts bigger, they're not going back and reevaluating the content strategy too. So I think or it's vice versa. They've reevaluated the content strategy, but some of the design elements aren't in place. Like the font's really small and hard to read. So I think it's key to get those two things working in tandem to really optimize the full experience.
Fantastic. And we've talked about how mobile has really increased over the past few years, and so has social media.
Yeah. What's
the relationship you see between integrating social media into email campaigns moving forward?
Wow. So gosh. One of the most common ways you see people trying to integrate social and email is just to put social media links or like icons in their email. And so especially with the introduction of mobile, you have limited screen real estate. So I say choose the most effective channel, especially for the content that's in the email, and really add value around those links or those icons to say like, why are they in there? What happens when I click here? Do you want me to share this on Twitter? Do you want me to follow you on Twitter? Do you want me to read more of your content on Twitter? So if you're just an icon, I don't really know what you want me to do. Right. So I think social definitely has a place in email. It's just how you approach it and how well you know your audience and how well that kind of stuff is performing there. And then again, how are you adding value to that process? But with the addition of mobile, I think it's really interesting too because people are going to mobile Twitter to, like conferences like this. They're tweeting as they go. And so if you have some sort of integration with Twitter in your email, it can be really easy to just say, hey, tweet this now, and then link that right out to the Twitter app on the phone. So there's some interesting opportunities there, especially when you introduce mobile to social and email.
And you brought up some great points. It's understanding that when someone says social integration, it's not just putting a link in the footer to Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, because like I said, what does that mean? Am I going to follow you? Am I going to share something? So setting up the expectations of the user and communicating the value around it, I think is what a lot of people are missing.